My internet was down last Wednesday. It wasn't just my internet, it was down all over town. It wasn't until then that I really realized when it went out. I watched a couple of YouTube videos at 9 o'clock in the morning, Wednesday morning, just right before it was going out. And it didn't get it back until like 10 o'clock Thursday morning. So going without it for an entire day, a 25-hour period. Well, until then I realized just how much I rely on an internet connection. I couldn't get to my business page. I could get to it through my phone, but I can't do certain things through the phone. I could get to YouTube, but of course without the Wi-Fi, I'd have to rely on data, and I kind of had to limit it a lot. So I couldn't watch a whole lot of YouTube videos, couldn't upload. And then my TV, what TV I watch, runs through the internet. Without an internet connection, I had no TV. I had to dust off the old DVD player that I haven't turned on in, gee whiz, months. But it just got me to thinking, how much I rely on the internet. And for me, it's still it's not really new, but I went more than half my life with no internet. And now all of a sudden I rely so heavily on it. I know there are people, on YouTube, maybe some that are watching this, that you grew up with the internet. That's the funny thing to me. There are adult people that don't remember a world without the internet. And I was almost 30 when I first got on the internet. But I just started thinking about when I was a kid and how different things are, and all of the things I have now that I use on a daily basis, rely on an almost daily basis, that I didn't even have when I was a kid. And I kind of landed on about the year 1981, because that seemed to be a pivotal year. Because 1981, the cable that we've had here in town has always been bad. We've never had good cable here. This is going to be the longest one, so I'm going to go ahead and get to it first. The cable in 1981 consisted of 9 channels. There was no packages, there was no different tiers and all that. You got cable, then you got this, and you got 9 channels. Now, the funny thing about cable prior to 1981 and back, the cable you got in this town, you would get Channel 3 and Channel 6 out of Wichita Falls, and Channel 7 out of Lawton, Oklahoma. And those were considered to be respectively, the NBC, CBS, and ABC affiliates for this area. But then we also got Channel 12 out of Ardmore, Oklahoma. And it was kind of one of those weird stations that for a while it would run both NBC and CBS programming. I don't know how exactly that worked. They eventually switched over to CBS, but I think in 1981 they would still run both. So that's 4 of the channels right there. Then we also had 5, 8, and 4 out of Dallas, which was the NBC, ABC, and CBS affiliates out of Dallas. So at least 2 of the channels was running the same thing. You'd get the same thing on 3 as you got on 5, you get the same thing on 6 as you got on 4, and you get the same thing on 7 as you got on 8, and then 12 would be running the same thing as a couple of different ones depending on what day it was. And then we also got the PBS station out of Dallas, and Channel 11, which at the time was an independent station out of Dallas. And that was it. And then we had what was on Channel 2 at the time, which was nothing but a camera that was set up down there at the cable office, and there were these old gauges on the wall, and you had it showed the temperature, the barometric pressure, the time, and the wind direction. And it was a black and white image. That camera would start all the way over to the left, and it would slowly pan to the right across all the different gauges, showing you the barometric pressure and the time, and all the way over to the wind direction. And it would pause for a second and slowly start panning back to the left, all the way back over to the temperature. And a lot of people would set their clock, they'd have to put it on channel 2, and it's like, oh man, I missed the clock, I'm going to have to wait until it comes all the way back around. But that was it. Now you compare that to what we have today, and of course, now we have got Dish Network available. I have no idea what the local cable is here. After a few years, they finally started getting where we could get some of the other basic cable channels, ESPN and MTV, and we were still way behind everybody else. But I think the first channel other than our basic channels was, I think in 1982 we got WTBS. What was known as WTBS out of Atlanta at the time. It was the very start of TBS, and it was still just Channel 17 WTBS out of Atlanta, Georgia, and you'd get Atlanta commercials and all that. We'd watch that all the time just because it was something different. But that was our television. We had no microwave. I think we had a toaster oven for a while that was used and really didn't last that long because we used the crap out of it. I don't remember now. I think it was, we were up into the late 70s before we finally broke down and got a color TV. And we just got it because our old black and white finally gave out. I actually know people that aren't that much younger than me that are shocked to find out that we had a TV with no remote control. You actually had to get up and change the channel on the TV manually. A computer, of course, when I was a really young kid, a computer was, you could have to have a whole room to fit a computer in there. So I can remember the commercials that came out when the home computer first started becoming a thing. They had that commercial with all the old characters from MASH. It was like they were working in an office. And the guy that used to play Frank Burns was they were bringing in a new computer, and he cleared out this whole room and then was looking, feeling stupid when they brought it in. It was this little bitty, home computer, but computers that, had less memory than the memory card I use in my camera were costing like $3,000 and $4,000. VCRs, they were not that common. This was in 1981. That was even before the home video rental wasn't even a big thing yet, and a 13-channel capability VCR that weighed as much as your children probably cost $1,000, $1,500, something like that. And those ones the old ones that nobody knew how to set the clock. You have 12 flashing all the time. And of course now it's people talk about VCR. Forget that. Even DVD players are kind of old hat now. By 1981, I think arcades were just starting to become a thing. Maybe before that, but probably not. They probably didn't get them around here until around 80, 81. And kind of lived through the birth and death of the arcade. But that's what, if you wanted to go play video games. I had an Atari 2600, but it wasn't the same. Now the stuff that they put out for your home video is actually probably better than any of the arcade stuff. And, most of that arcade stuff, by the time you gotta go in with a bankroll to get anywhere on any of those games. But I just thought that was kind of funny. It just kind of got me to thinking about stuff like that. When I was a kid, my mom would talk about stuff when she was a kid, and she'd talk about going to the movie theater and paying a quarter to, they'd take a quarter to get into the movie, and that quarter would be enough to get into the movie, get a drink and a popcorn. Now you're lucky to get all that and spend less than a $20 bill, kind of depending on what time of day you go. I always thought, I'm not going to have those kind of stories. I'm not going to have those hardship stories of, those shocking stories of, wow, that was so cheap then, and that was so much harder and stuff like that. We do, it's just different. It's not as hard as theirs, but when I sit here and talk about, we didn't have remote control. You had to get up and walk over and change the channel on the TV manually. People that don't remember a time when there was no such thing as no remote control, they're shocked. They're like, wow, really? You had to do that? So we have those stories. They're just different. I don't know. That's just kind of been on my mind lately. I was thinking about all the stuff. Just wondering what's some of the stuff that you had when, or some of the stuff you have now that there was a time you wouldn't have missed it because it wasn't there, or some of the things that are different in your life now because, like I say, not having the internet just basically completely shut me down, and it just does make me wonder in another 30 years what are they going to be saying? Well, maybe we'll have those Star Trek. The holodeck, and people just won't know what to do if they don't have their holodeck. How do we interact with real people? Well, anyway, nothing spectacular there, but I would like to hear your stories, or if you have anything that maybe there's something you had when you were a kid that you kind of wish it was the same way, or something you have now that you didn't even dream about when you were a kid. Alright, well, thanks for watching. Thanks for coming along for the ride. And I'll see you next time. Okay, I had to make a trip to McKinney today. Well, I didn't really have to, but I did. Let's do that again. Okay, I had to make a trip to McKinney today, and it's just a hop and a skip to Frisco from McKinney. So I thought I'd come here today and go to the National Video Game Museum. Here at the